Dude, I can't remember what I said the last segment, let alone what you said. And that was with me watching the stupid thing 4 times.
There you go.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Flip Side. I'm Sam.
I'm JT.
And we are almost right smack dab in the middle of our top 100 games of all time, the 2024 edition. This segment right here is going to be numbers 60 through 51. So this is the last segment of our bottom 50.
Nice.
That's pretty dadgum cool. We were just looking over some of the, my list here and noticing how many stars are in my numbers 101 to 250. Stars denoted games that were on my list last year that got booted. It's a neat thing, this is an upheaval for me, and it's kind of like not really a restructuring, but kind of a honing in for you.
Yep.
Last year was the first year you did
yep.
one, and this is, so I guess talk about that for a little bit. How different was it to do it this year as compared to last year, which was the first time you did it?
How different? I don't know. It was more, I don't know. I thought I spent a lot of time on it last year, but I probably spent twice as much time on it this year. Just because I was very deliberate.
Sure.
This year, specifically. I was pretty deliberate last year, but
yeah.
I put everything in, like I said, I put all the games I've ever played in Pub Meeple that I could think of.
Yep.
And then I deleted out the majority of them because half of them were crap. Because that's how the bell curve goes, right? Like most of the games you play are going to be in the middle, and you don't need those anymore. Take the middle out, keep the cream of the crop. That's how you get the cream off top of the milk. So, and then you just organize them. So it was quite fun. But there were things that I put in last year. I was like, I probably gave that one a little too much credit or whatever else. So, but yeah. So that's cool. I think that your last year's list was more muscle memory than
it was.
And this one was
honestly
more how do I feel today?
Yep, absolutely. So there's definitely I called it an upheaval. But it is a revamping.
I have 2 new games on this list. 2 games made it on this segment. 2 new games on this list.
5. I have 5 new games on this segment. So
right on.
Half and half. Let's get to it. Number 60 coming up. All right, my number 60 is a newcomer to the list, and it is at the center of a rather, I don't know if it's still hot, but it used to be a hot controversy, and that is the use of AI art.
No.
And that is called Path of Civilization. This is a really neat game. I like the idea of civilization games, where you're taking a civilization, you're kind of building it up through the eons and making it what it can be. I like that idea. The problem for that is that more often than not, those civilization games just simply take too long. They take a long time because you're doing a lot. I get it. It's not a strike against them per se, but for me, I just usually don't play a lot of civilization games. But they draw me in. This one plays pretty quickly. It is still about an hour and a half to 2 hour game.
Sure.
But it still does play pretty quickly, and I like what you're doing. You're generally, you have a deck of cards, and they represent different aspects of your civilization, whether it's faith or economy or industry or science, technology, that kind of stuff. And you are going to choose on your your player board what cards you're going to focus on that round. And that'll generate points in your research tracks that will enable you to purchase different cards that you'll add to your deck to kind of build them up. And you're also going to be getting rid of some cards that you're not going to use, that you didn't focus on. And you're building up your civilization in this way. And there are, I think, 9 different rounds that you have to go through. And each round you're going to have a different kind of war or battle. There's a different kind of goal that you're looking for. And I just liked how everything kind of came together. The AI art for me,
I agree.
Didn't really care. Didn't care much at all because it's all historical things, historical figures, historical buildings, historical people that, whatever. It just didn't bother me. But I really enjoyed this game. Path of Civilization is a really fun game. I'm glad I own it. I played it at Dice Tower West this year, and I got it from the table and went and purchased it. That's how much I like it. So that's my number 60, Path of Civilization.
It's quite a fun game. I've only played it once, and it was quite fun. I would wonder if after 20 plays, if it gets very procedural in what you do game to game. But who knows?
Yeah,
I haven't played it 20 times, so
neither have I. And that's the kind of thing that you can't really answer until you've played it that many times. And I don't think either of us really play that kind of game that many times. So
maybe. Depends on what the game is.
Often, at the very least.
Often,
right?
sure. Yeah. All right. Well, my number 60 was on my list last year. It was my number 53 last year, so in this same segment. And that is from Ignacy Trevicek and Portal Games, and it is called 51st State. That's correct. 51st State is a fantastic tableau builder, civilization builder, if you will, or faction builder. You get a faction board. You're going to get a hand of cards, and every round you're going to get to draft a new card into your hand. There's also going to be other ways to get cards. Obviously, one new card probably wouldn't be enough to sustain you throughout the game. But you're going to gain cards. You get resources. The resources are guns and fuel and bricks and things like that. All of the components. I do have the collector's edition or the ultimate edition now. With all of the expansions in it and all of the cool components and everything. So that's really neat. All the components are really nice. But in this game, you're either building buildings to go into your tableau. Every card is multi-use. You're either going to use it as the building that it is, or you might make a deal with that settlement. And basically, when you make a deal with it, it's going to slide into a different part of your board, and it's just going to be a new production item, but you're not going to get the card or anything else. Yep. Or you may just destroy it with combat and get the spoils out of it, whatever, kind of instantaneous resources, things like that.
Yeah.
But you're going to be doing those three things. You have different kinds of contact. You have building contact, you have the deal contact, and you have combat. And you can attack other people's bases. Other people's civilizations, which is really cool.
Yep.
In this game, if you do that, you're attacking them for their spoils. You're going to destroy the card. The interesting thing is that anytime on your board, or on for somebody else's board, when one of my buildings gets destroyed, it flips over and now becomes a free, easy construction site for me to build something else on top of. So I can build something better than that, cheaper now in that spot. So yes, I lose something and you gain some resources, but I also gain a building spot that I can use for something else to keep my engine going. So
that's a cool balance.
It is, and this is a really cool game. It's quite thinky, quite interesting. The resources are extremely tight at the beginning, and towards the end of the game, instead of trying to get resources to build new cards, you're trying to get resources and filter them through your engine to get victory points. So the game I really love, 51st State, that's my number 60.
Sure. Great pick. Great pick. My number 59 is also a newcomer to the list, and this is from Capstone Games. And it's a neat little game about hiding your mages in towers, or hiding your opponent's mages in towers, and then trying to get your mages to the Dark Tower first. It's called Wandering Towers. It's a neat little, almost, the cup game where you can kind of move your things around and you're trying to remember where that thing is that's inside the cup. That's really kind of what this feels like at its foundational level. There's a lot of other things going on. You can use spells to break the rules of the game. But generally speaking, what you're trying to do is get your little meeple mages into the Dark Tower first before everybody else can do that. And you do that by playing cards out of your hand that are either going to help let you move your mages a certain number of spaces around clockwise around the track, or you're trying to move actual towers clockwise around the track. And so when you cover up somebody else's mages or your mages, you get to fill some vials of potions, and then you can use those potions to fire off these different spells that are in the middle of the table that let you break those rules. And a couple of things that you have to do in order to win the game: you have to activate all of your potions, and then you also have to get all of your mages into the Dark Tower. You don't have to use all of your potions, you just have to activate them all.
Right.
So as long as you do both of those things, you're going to be able to win the game. The catch is that it's a lot easier to activate your potions at the beginning of the game, and
that's true.
you're covering up their people earlier in the game, but you might be covering up your own people earlier in the game. You have to remember where all those people are. It's just a really neat, crunchy, fast, family weight game. And I really do enjoy it. So that's my number 59, Wandering Towers.
Wandering Towers is a super fun game.
Yes.
Super fun game.
Absolutely.
I play it anytime, anywhere. My number 59 was my 51 last year. I think this kind of center of the pack kind of stuck fairly well, I think, where it is.
That's cool.
But my number 59 is Foundations of Rome from Arcane Wonders.
Ooh.
Now, the truth be told,
Nice.
I don't know how long Foundations of Rome will stay in my top 100 or stay. I think it's going to slip continually. I think because of games like Skyrise and stuff like that, I might prefer those. This is a very, very light game. It is a gorgeous game, and that's one of the things that keeps it there. We'll see how it goes over the next few years. I love the game. It's super fun, but it is very light, fluffy kind of game. You have 3 actions you can do. You can either buy a plot of land from the market, and that market is a sliding market, so the plots that have been there longer are cheaper, and the plots that come out brand new are more expensive. You can buy a plot of land. You can build a building off of your player board. You have buildings that will increase your population and increase your money value. It also increases ways to get victory points with your civics buildings. Or you can run production, and running production is going to give you 5 coins plus coins for any money buildings that you have on the board and however much they create. And those are the 3 things you can do on your turn.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
It's very, very light, very simple, very fun, very beautiful on the table. This is a really, really nice game.
Have you played much with the Roads of Fortune expansion? Yeah, that's my thing. Because I've been thinking about this ever since you said it. But you said it's a really light, fluffy game, and I think in its base form, absolutely correct. And that's one of the beauties about it, is that it looks like it's this huge, complex game, but it really isn't.
You're right.
I'm wondering, because I haven't played it either, I'm wondering how much
Well, next time I'll play it. I'll
complexity.
check 'em.
Yeah, I want to play Roads
yeah,
of
yeah.
Fortune a lot before I.
But
Yeah.
But half the time when I play this game, it's teaching new people because
Yes.
they want to see it. And so
Exactly.
I'm not going to add that in anyways.
Right.
So that's where the functionality and the
Using
fun of this
that
game
and
comes
the
out.
monuments
with the new people.
the monuments and stuff like that. I wonder how much complexity all
So
of
that's
that adds.
possible.
Yeah,
And like I said, it is in here. It's right in the middle of the pack
Sure.
of my top 100 games of all time. It's a really cool game.
it's got some.
It's a
breathing room.
beautiful game. So it's
very
got some
much.
breathing room. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Got
not
it.
kicking it out just yet.
No. I didn't say that, but I was just made me
Yeah,
think.
yeah. No, it's a good question.
Made me think. That's all. All right, my number 58 was my number 12 last year.
Woohoo!
Yeah. But again, 130 games came into the mix. 10 Penny Parks. Now, this is a great game. Super fun game.
Yep.
It's got Vincent Dutrait's artwork. I love the theme of building up your own little amusement park. I love the worker placement aspect of it, which is actually a pretty tight worker
it's very
placement
tight. Yep.
because you've only got 3 workers, and you have if there's only a couple of places
There are
on the
very
board
few spots on the board
where you
to
can
go to.
actually
Yeah,
send. There's a multiple number of people. A lot of the places are somebody takes it, you don't get it anymore.
That's right.
It's a very tight worker placement game, but it's got beautiful artwork. I love the theme, and it teaches fairly easily. It's not that difficult. Another thing comparatively speaking. Another thing that I liked about it was the tile placement aspect of it. It kind of, it's adjacent to what everybody else is doing. Most of the time you have these polynomial shapes and you're just putting them, and you're trying to fill out your little tableau.
Yeah.
That's not how this works here. You can only go corner to corner on these when you're putting out your different rides into your park. And that, a small little jaunt off to the left or right, and that kind of changes the feeling of that tile placement mechanism, and I really enjoyed it a lot. I also like the idea of having to clear off trees, and when you expanded your board came with more trees that you had to populate. Yep. And I just really enjoyed this game a lot. It did slip, but that doesn't mean at all that I don't like it. It just means that it got moved around a little bit from a lot of games coming into the mix. But that's my number 58, 10 Penny Parks.
If I had played this a couple more times this year, it would have been on my list. I think it got pretty close to hitting the list. This is a really cool game.
Yeah.
And you're right, just changing that mechanism on the board where you're only connecting by the corners, it creates a whole new spatial puzzle for you.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, it's really cool. This is a cool game.
Thank you. Very cool.
Yes. All right, my number 58. I'm assuming will be a crossover, probably in about, we'll say 30 to 35 spaces for him. A little bit higher, I would assume. I have no idea. I'm just making stuff up. But
what is it?
This is Stone Spine Architects. Stone Spine Architects is very quickly becoming one of my favorite games. It's such an easy game to play with people. It's really fun. In Stone Spine Architects, it's a closed drafting system where you're drafting dungeon rooms for your little dungeon. You basically start out with a starting location with an entrance to your dungeon and nothing in it. And you're going to draft 4 cards every round, and you're going to fill out 1 row at a time. The top row, the shallowest row, or the closest to the surface, and then the next row, and the next row, and the next row. Yep. You start out with a card at the beginning, which kind of gives you a layout that you need to make points within the dungeon. And you know, I think it's 20 points if you get your full card. But there's also round scoring. It's another one of those games where at the end of every round, you get to pick a scoring card. And it depends on player order and who gets to buy. There's a really cool market system that's going on. So you maybe you don't want to, you want more money so that you can get that first, or maybe you don't care and you're going to take what's left over, whatever. But you are creating a lot of your own end of game scoring during that phase. So that really gives you a lot of things to think about. You're collecting kobolds and slimes and traps and putting them in different orders and magnitudes in your dungeon. You're also trying to get a clear path from your entrance to your exit, which is a nice, good idea. Otherwise, you got 2 dungeons that come in like this and they don't hit. But all of that creates scoring. But it's a really cool little closed hands drafting system. Yes. With really cute art, and it's just a really fun game to play.
Very good. Very good pick.
How close did I get?
Could not agree more. You were wrong.
Okay.
I won't say why you were wrong.
Fair.
But you were wrong.
It's not on there. All right, my number 58, Stone Spine Architects, Thunderwork Games. They hit it out of the park.
They did. Great pick. Yeah. All right, my number 57 was number 51 last year. So, again, not really a whole lot of slippage there, but just a little bit. Still in the same segment of last year's list. And this one was a Mysterium killer for me. It's called Obscurio. And Obscurio basically does the same thing that Mysterium does. I just feel like it does it in a little bit of a better way. Yeah, and that is, you have a person that is the clue giver. And basically the clue giver is a magical book that is trying to give clues to the people who are playing the game to help them escape this library that they have been entombed in. And so you're able to give clues to all of the people, but the way you give clues, in Mysterium, you're just basically giving this card with like Dixit-like artwork to a person, and you're hoping that they catch on to the clues that you're wanting to give them by giving them that card. And that's hit or miss. With
it's pretty difficult when you got 40 things on a card to look at.
Super difficult.
Pick out one.
With Obscurio, you have 2 cards that you are going to be able to show people, but you also have these little butterfly tokens, or I can't remember what exactly they were, but you can actually use them to point to certain aspects of that picture that you want them to focus on to get those clues. One of the main differences between this and Mysterium, I believe, is that I don't remember if Mysterium had a trader element to it. But Obscurio does have one.
Mysterium does not.
You can play without it. I don't know how much it would be affected for you guys, but for me, it's not really affected that much by just playing without a trader. But I really enjoy this a lot. It's a very fun game.
You put pictures by each of the doors. You're trying to lead them to a specific door.
A specific door, yeah.
And then you're giving something to them, and you're giving a board to them that shows them, some kind of
there's 2 pictures on it.
Yep, some kind of a thing you're looking at on the pictures to lead them to one of those doors.
Yep.
At the end of the round, everybody gets to vote on which door they think it is.
They also get to talk about why.
And they get to talk about why and everything else. So that's where the trader can come in, or the conspirator or whatever. He can come in and try to lead them astray to get them to vote on something else that's not the correct door. So, which is a very fun mechanic.
It is.
It can be very fun. So.
I enjoy it either way, but
that's fine.
if you don't like that trader element, you can basically just leave it out. But either way, I think it would be challenging. Having a trader just makes it a little bit more challenging.
Yep.
So that's my number 57. Was 51 last year. Obscurio.
Right on. All right. Well, my number 57, I don't know why it's right here. I put it here, so it exists and it belongs here. But it was my 37 last year. It makes me sad to see it this low. My number 57 is Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria.
Ooh.
In the Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria, you are drafting dice out of 5 areas on the board. And each of those areas is going to give you some kind of ability or something you're going to do. Whether it's the magic fountain, when you draft a dice out of there, you get to take a gem with you as well, which can help you manipulate the dice. Or you might be drafting out of the battle area, where you get battle plans to bring to your board, so that in this game, you're trying to defeat these battle plans. And the battle plan might say you need 2 gray dice and a blue dice to defeat this one. There's several things in this game that are really cool. The fact that when I purchase a champion, for instance, I can pull a 6 out of there, which will give me a lot of strength against a battle plan, but it gives me no value in buying the champions. But if I pull a 3 out of there, I get a $3 discount to purchase one of those champions, which can be quite a bit. So a lot of the times, the lower the number is, the more of a discount you get. So it's really balancing on, do I take the big numbers, do I take the little numbers? And there's only 5 spaces on the board, and you have a little champion person that you use to go around, and you can never go to the same space twice in a row. So you're having to bounce around and get these different dice, get the champions, get the battle plans, and then try to defeat them.
Yep.
And the other piece of this is you have your player board has a whole bunch of little tokens on top of it. And every time you complete a battle plan, you get to take 1 token off and put it on this sideboard, which upgrades your board, because wherever that token came off of gives you something new.
Right.
So, and I always like upgraded player boards. But this is a really fun game. I've played it a ton. I just like Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria. It's not super complex or anything else, but it's a nice middle of the road dice drafting type game. So that's my number 57, Stan Kardunsky.
Stan Kardunsky is right. Yep. Good job. Nice pick. All right, my number 56 is a newcomer to the list this year, and I have not really been the champion of this game. I think other people like the game. There have been some that don't, but I really enjoyed it. It was a little wonky at first. Didn't really know how it was going to play out as far as my likes and dislikes of it, but this one's called Mistwind.
I knew it.
Mistwind, and there's a couple of really kind of nuanced things in this game. First of all, your action selection is a little bit of a nuanced thing. You have 5 chips, and you're only going to use 4 of them, and you can only pick one action from 3 of the different action areas. Yeah. The 4th one, you can place multiple discs down there, but usually that 4th one becomes, well, I missed it on this one and I missed it on that one, so I'm going to have to take the concession prize down here. But other than that, it's pretty much a pick up and deliver game, and you're also building routes to connect different parts of the board using your whale transports and your towers. Look like lighthouses, but they're not. We'll just call them stations.
Sure.
But it's a really neat game where you're just basically trying to score the most points at the end of the game by picking up and delivering different aspects and making your routes viable at a point in the game so you can turn it over so that you can score it at the end of the game. The component quality is off the charts. It's really nice component quality. Had, generally speaking, a great storage solution. There were a little bit of nuanced things that we talked about during the review, but I really enjoyed this game a lot. I don't think I'll ever play it with 5 players, though, because good night. I have played it once with 5 players, and it went incredibly long. So, but at 4, it works out pretty well. I think sweet spot is 3 or 2, though. But that's just me. I really enjoy this game, though. It's my number 56, Mistwind.
Got it. Right on. My number 56 is the other new to this list game. It came out in 2023, but I'm trying to think of when it came out. I think this was kind of like a Gen Con came out because I got my copy pretty early and played a bunch of it early. I remember we talked about that, but this is Sky Team. Sky Team is a fantastic game. It will always be in my collection. I'm looking forward to getting the Turbulence expansion. But in Sky Team, you're playing a 2-player game. You're rolling dice. It's hidden information, so you don't know what dice I have. I don't know what dice you have. One of you plays the pilot. One of you plays the co-pilot.
Yep.
And basically, you're flying at 6,000 feet, and you've got to land your airplane. But to do that, you've got to get all the other airplanes out of the way. You've got to make sure you land on the runway with your gear down and your flaps down. That's a good idea, yeah. Preferably. You got to make sure your brakes are ready and working. And it all is based on where you place your dice. You only get 4 dice each, and 2 of those dice every round are allocated directly to the speed of the plane and to the tilt of the plane. So you only have 2 other dice every round to use to do all of these other things. So it's quite tight. It's quite fun. There's a whole bunch of different scenarios in it. There's a bunch of different modules where you got a fuel leak, or you're training an intern, or you're dealing with the wind. You know, all of these kind of things mess with you. But I really love Sky Team. I think I've played it 40 times now, probably 30 to 40 times, and I will continue to do so. So there you go. That's my 56.
That's one of those games where it's easy to play it so much because you play it like 4 or 5 times in one sitting.
Sure, absolutely.
You know? So that's really cool. Good pick. All right, my number 55 is a Stan Kordonski game. We've already had one of his games on the list from on this segment from my compatriot over here. This one is Resurgence, and I'm a sucker for post-apocalyptic themed games, but this one took a little bit of a jaunt off into left field because it's post-apocalyptic Moscow, not New York or L.A. or something like that, which seems to be the norm, right? But here you're basically trying to build up your compound, but you're going to be sending out your workers to accomplish different things, fighting off bad guys, which are basically mutants and mutant zombies. And then you're going to be also fighting off, or rather not fighting off, but getting different supplies that you'll be able to use to build up your compound and unlock new rooms that you can place workers into that do newer and better things that will help you proceed in the building up of your compound. And how many points you get at the end of the game are partly based partly in how well you did at building your compound, how well you used your workers. One of the really cool things about this is that it's a bag builder. You're putting different types of workers into a bag, and those workers do are only able to be used in certain places on the board. You can also use them to go to different rooms in your compound as well, and that's the really cool thing about it too. So I really enjoyed this game. It's something that I'm glad to have on my shelf, and it's new to the list, number 55, Resurgence from Stan Kordonski.
Right on. My number 55 was on my list last year at 43. It's in the same location. Like I said, a lot of this stuff just kind of sat right where, right in the middle here, which is okay.
Yep.
Which is good. You know, I got other games that are joining the list. So, and this is Rajas of the Ganges. I really love this game. Sam really hates the scoring mechanism. In this game, it's dice placement. You are trying to build out your, what is the word called? It's not a palace. Your province. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, because I always forget that word. You're trying to build out your province. You have your own personal board. You're going to be buying these tiles throughout the course of the game, which are going to fill out the province. They're going to give you roads that take you different directions. You've got to connect those roads together. But on those places, you're going to start making, different goods, which can be taken to the market and sold for money. But basically, you have a wealth track that goes all the way around the board, and then you have a fame track that goes all the way around the board, and you're trying to get those two tracks to meet. Now, your fame never goes down, but your wealth, obviously, you can spend it and continue to work, this track up and down. So you got to kind of watch how much you're spending. But once those two tracks come together, that's going to signify the end of the game, and then whoever's farthest, has crossed farthest is going to win. There's the Ganges River going up the middle. You can push a boat that goes up there, which will just give you different abilities as you go. You can go to the palace to multiple different worker placement spots, dice placement spots to activate different things, and that will either require, many of these things will either require the right color of dice or the right number of dice.
Right.
It's a very pretty game. It's quite thinky, and there are a couple spots on there that are really highly prized by everybody. So, but yeah, this is a really fun game, and I really like it. Rajas of the Ganges.
I don't know that I've played this. If I have, it's only been once or twice. But is it a heavier game?
It's not super heavy.
No?
It's probably right in the middle. Probably like a 3. Or maybe just a hair more.
Cool.
I'm not saying I'm good at this game. I think Melissa always stomps me into the dirt, but regardless, it's still a really cool game.
That's like saying two Hall of Famers battling each other.
No.
And one of them not doing as well as the other one.
No.
That's what that.
Especially lately, I think our win-loss record's like 8 for her, 2 to me type of thing. I don't know how that works, but.
This one was actually number 67 last year, so this one has risen a little bit.
Nice.
And I attribute that, I think, to playing it a few more times here recently. It just kind of has reinvigorated my liking of the game. This one is called Run, Fight, or Die Reloaded. And Reloaded is it's like a second edition by Gray Fox Games. But this is a really fun zombie apocalypse game where you have your own little lane of zombies that are attacking you. There are 3 zones, starting with 3, 2, and 1 being closest. And you have your own character and your own character abilities and little combinations of the dice that will do special things for you, but the dice also allow you to do, gun attacks or baseball bat attacks or something to that effect. And they also have 3 other faces on the dice that you can use those combinations to do different things, like find different supplies, find different locations, find other survivors that will become kind of like a sidekick for you that you can use as a meat shield, basically. Or if you keep them alive, they're worth a certain number of points at the end of the game that's written on their card. But you're trying
the
to...
points. Meat shield's better.
Yeah, meat shield is better. But basically what you're trying to do is you're just trying to survive until you reach the outskirts of town, which is a card that's going to be flipped over at some point during in the location deck. But the zombie alpha can show up at some time, at some point in the game. And then you not only have to battle the zombies that are in your little lane, but you also have to help fight him because he's bringing up other kinds of cards that are going to be hurting everybody at the same time. So it's a really neat dice rolling game. Think King of Tokyo style dice rolling, where you can roll the dice and then you have 2 rerolls. You can keep some of the dice and reroll others. Sometimes they get locked, though, so you have to be careful with that. But it's a really fun dice chuck-in zombie game that has a lot of really neat elements to it. And the Reloaded edition is really kind of the prettiest, I guess you could say, version of the game as far as the components and the artwork and all that kind of stuff. But it's really, really fun. 54 was 67 last year. So take that for what it's worth. Run, Fight, or Die Reloaded.
I need to pick this game up. It's been in my cart for a while. I've been in my wish list for a while. It's a fun game, and I know Hawken would like it.
Yeah, it would be good.
All right. My number 54 was my number 58 last year, which means that it's skyrocketing. No, I'm just kidding. Not skyrocketing that much, but my number 54 is The Quacks of Quedlinburg.
What?
Witches galore. Gotta make the brews. No, we're not witches now. See, we are potion makers.
Potion
we
makers.
Don't want to be witches.
You're doctors.
Yeah, that's right. We're doctors.
Quacks.
Come on over. We're gonna make you a potion to grow all your hair back, Sam.
Snake oil. I don't want to grow my hair back. I like it.
Anyway, in The Quacks of Quedlinburg, it's a bag building game where you're going to start out with a few simple chips in your bag, a pumpkin and some white chips and stuff like that, and you are building out each round. You have a cauldron that has a spiral board in it, and you're trying to get around that spiral as far as you can, and every time you do, you're going to get more buying power, so you're going to be able to buy all these chips with different abilities and different numbers on them. The numbers meaning how many steps they get to go away from the last chip, but there's ones that do all kinds of things, you know, multipliers and get extra diamonds if this is at the end of your track or whatever, or rubies or whatever else. But ultimately, you're trying to get the most points by making the coolest and the biggest potions before you bust. But you do have the opportunity, as you continue to pull out of your bag, that if you get too greedy or you just get unlucky, you're going to pull out too many of those white chips and your potion's going to explode all over your customers. You're not going to get any victory points that round. Right. It's just a lot of fun. It's really tactile. It's really cool to see what you get out of there and add all those cool chips to your bag. So,
it's a good one. It's one of the ones that put pulling things from a bag back on the map for me. Before Quacks of Quedlinburg came out, I really did not like that mechanism of just pulling things randomly out of a bag. But I love the push your luck mechanism that's built in there. You don't want your potion to explode, and you can stop at any time. So I like that.
The fact that it's your personal bag.
Yeah,
too.
it's your
it's
personal
not some
bag,
kind of communal bag that you're just getting unlucky drawings from either. So. This is a favorite around our house, Quacks Quedlinburg.
That's a good one. My number 53 was number 41 last year, so it's kind of still in the same bracket. A little bit of slippage, but not that bad. This one's called, and it's my favorite version. We'll call this a placeholder because I really do enjoy Horrified, generally speaking. American Monsters is the one that I'll use. It's my most favorite one.
Yep.
I own all 4 versions of Horrified. I like all of them, but this is my favorite one. I think it has so far. Now, I haven't played all of the monsters from the new World of Monsters. I did play with a couple of them, and they were pretty cool. But this one has, I think, the greatest difference in how each of the different monsters are defeated. And that's why I like American Monsters the best. It's a cooperative game where each of the players are going to take a certain individual that has their own little special thing that they can do, And you're basically trying to go around, pick up different items that you're going to use to defeat the different monsters with. All the while, you're trying to pick up different villagers, or they're called something different in all of the different versions of the game. But you're trying to protect them.
Bystanders.
Bystanders. Yeah, to get them from one place to another on the board. And if you do that, you're able to draw these cards that are kind of powerful items that you can use against the different beasts or monsters that you're trying to defeat. It's a really fun game, and I've really enjoyed it. American Monsters is just my favorite version of it. That's all. That's my number 53. Was 41 last year. Horrified American Monsters.
American Monsters is my favorite. I'm waiting for him to put Godzilla in it.
Yeah,
You just can't beat him.
I imagine. I mean, what are you going to do? How can you? It's like
You are not going to beat him. That's
you have to beat everybody before he shows up. That's what it's going to be.
All right, that's good. My number 53 has been one of my favorite games for a long time, and this is Role Player. In Role Player, that's another Thunderworks games. We've had a few Thunderworks games coming on.
Yeah, we have.
But in Role Player, it was my 62 last year, 53 this year. But did I say that already?
Nope.
I might have. But in Role Player, you're drafting dice to fill out your stat sheet of a D&D character, basically, or of a role-playing character. You're going to end up with some specific race. You're going to end up with I can't think of the
Class.
alignment. Oh my goodness gracious! Yeah. I'm getting old, people.
D&D player.
Exactly. You're gonna end up with an alignment. You're gonna end up with a race. You're gonna end up with a class, and they will kind of dictate how you want to set up your 18 dice, because that's what you're collecting is 18 dice for your 6 different abilities. Every time you draft a dice and place it in one of the abilities, every one of those abilities, your intelligence, or your strength, or your dex, or whatever, has a different dice manipulation ability going along with it. So there's a lot of thinkiness and stuff like that. If I put a dice in my strength, then I can flip over a 1 that I've got in somewhere else to a 6 or whatever else. And then after that, depending on where you draft, it dictates when you get to buy in the market. And you're buying gear, you're buying leather armor, you're buying weapons, you're buying traits and stuff like that for your character to fill them out, to give you special abilities and everything else, all towards getting victory points or stars at the end. And those stars are really based on building your character the way that the class and everything says you should. And if you play with the expansions, you get to fight monsters and bosses and do all kinds of other cool things, and get familiars and things like that. So, I really love Role Player. It'll be on my list for a long time. I really love this game. So,
all right, good pick. My number 52 is a newcomer to the list, and a lot of people have said that this is just a game.
Probably me.
They don't like a lot of... No, actually...
I said that one?
You might have. But
all right.
A lot of people have just said, it's okay, but I'd rather play this for that kind of game, or what have you.
Gotcha.
This is called Harmonies. Harmonies is a neat, little, beautiful game about building up your own little habitat and populating it with different animals, and it's done in a little bit of a different way than most of those kinds of games are. Instead of using tiles to differentiate these different things, you are using tiles, but you're putting the animals are actual like cubes that you put on these different things, and in these different. Once you have a configuration of they're not tiles, they are.
Well, they're nature features,
wooden,
right?
They're like wooden.
They're like wooden
discs. And you're putting them in these different configurations, and once you've got the configuration that animal is looking for, you can take that cube and put it onto the feature that it's supposed to go onto, which is going to raise the amount of points that you're going to be able to score for that animal at the end of the game. Once you get all of the cubes off of there, you can actually remove that from your tableau, and now that opens up another spot for you to get another kind of animal to put into your tableau. I really enjoy this game a lot, and it's a very attractive game on the table as well. I don't know why people don't like it as much as...
I don't think it's a meh game. I just think it's in line with a whole bunch of other games.
Sure,
it's lost in the
packed
crowd with that's exactly right.
Yeah, packed field.
Yep.
I think it probably, I don't know, maybe Azul is another one.
Yeah, maybe. If I was going to put this side by side with the game, it would be Reef. I would rather play Reef because there's much more decision space in the placement. But visually, this one looks better.
Yeah, and I'm a very aesthetic gamer.
But I mean, it's a fun game, and I would never turn it down playing it. It's fun, and it's fine. I just don't think it's cream of the crop type of thing.
Sure, I get it.
But,
but it's number 52.
But it's a nice game.
Yeah.
It's a very nice game.
It's a great game. Yep. I really enjoy it. Harmonies, number 52.
Right on. My number 52 is an older game. In fact, man, years go by, don't they? This is from Vlaada Chvátil, and it's got the coolest little goblins you've ever seen. And this is called Dungeon Pets.
Dungeon Pets.
In Dungeon Pets, this is a worker placement game where you are bidding with your goblins and your gold, or with your imps. I'm sorry, they're not goblins, they're imps. But you're blind bidding with your imps and your gold. You set up your imps inside your player board, and then you move it off to the side. And then whoever has the most gets to place first out on the board, and so on and so forth. So you might spread out so you can get 6 or 7 placements, where somebody else might cram all of them into big numbers so that they can get the top 3 placements, type of thing. But you're basically in this game collecting little dungeon pets, little critters that usually start out 2 years old or 3 years old. And you're trying to, and then you're bringing them back to your pens. You have to have pens that can contain them, that can contain monsters of that type. There's all kinds of modifiers you can add to your pen. You can get pens with swing sets in them, so you don't have to worry about playing with a monster or whatever else. But you're bringing these little monsters back, and then at the end of every round, towards the end of every round, you're going to have cards, and every monster has needs that they need to be met. And they'll have either, like, one will say he needs a yellow and a green card. So you're going to draw a yellow and a green card, and you're going to have a yellow and a green in your hand already. But you have to play 2 of those cards down, and whatever are on those cards you have to meet, whether it's feeding them or letting them poop in the cage or playing with them.
You've 3D printed poop for this game.
I have 3D printed poop and food, and yes, for this game.
Well,
poop
is just processed food.
But anyways, you're trying to take care of these monsters. You're trying to not let them escape. Long story short, you're trying to not let them die or get grief, or if you do bad things to them, if their magic explodes, they mutate and gain extra limbs and stuff like that, which makes them less useful in the market because people don't want, people don't want their unicorns to have a 3rd eye or something. I don't know.
Why not?
But anyways,
that would be cool.
And you get to show them off at like a little trade show, and you get to show your little monsters off and make some points of prestige there. And then you also eventually you get to sell them to these dungeon lords that are like, hey, I need a guardian for the front door. Can you sell me that little Cerberus there? And you can make some money. So
that's funny.
It's a very crunchy Euro game with a really cute theme, but it's a very crunchy game.
Right.
And it's super fun. We love it to death. Dungeon Pets. That is my 52.
Cool pick. I've only played it once, but it was it's one of those Euro games that is also very thematic as well.
It is very thematic, yes. And it's very fun to kind of play into that.
Good pick. All right, my number 51 fell off of my top 10.
Woohoo!
It was number 8 last year.
I don't remember what it was.
It was. It's still a really fun game, and I still take it to most of the gaming events that I take it to because it does have a very appealing theme to it, and it has a very nice table presence as well. Usually it will draw people in. This is called Flamecraft. It's a great little worker placement-esque type of game. You only have one worker, but where you place that worker from round to round, you can't stay in the same place. You have to move around. Really determines what you're going to be able to do for that round. And you're basically just trying to score different points. You're trying to fulfill these different orders, I guess you could say, different goal cards, and that's going to score you a lot of points. But what you do at these different shops in town and how you're able to utilize the dragons that are already there and what dragons you place there is going to also determine other things, other kinds of resources that you get, other points that you score during the course of the game as well. And what... can't remember what kind of dragons that you have. Different dragons that you're drawing, but some of them are in-game scoring dragons, some of them are middle of the game scoring dragons, and then you also have other dragons that you're going to be playing out of your hand at different points. It's just a really neat game, great table presence, and I really enjoy it. But it has slipped because I think there are, I like other games better than it, but that's just the way it goes. That's my number 51, however, my last one for this segment, Flamecraft, a great little game.
Flamecraft, it's a very nice game.
Yeah.
And my favorite part of it is how, as people go to the shops get stronger.
Yeah.
So, and that's pretty cool. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's
Absolutely.
a good game. All right, my number 51, the last one on the bottom half, the last one on this half.
We have reached a milestone.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yep, that just makes me sad. No. My number 51 is from Final Frontier Games. It was my 59 last year, so it's risen just a little bit. This is called Monsters on Board.
Oh.
Now, I wasn't going to say it early in this list, but it seems like for some reason this section, I had a lot of dice drafting and dice placement in this section of my list, which is really kind of crazy. 'Cause I think like 7 of them were like that. But
Wow.
anyways, in Monsters on Board, you are drafting dice. Those dice thematically are Dungeon Lords or Midnight Lords or whatever you want to call them. They're Dark Lords. You're drafting them for their color because their color is going to move your monsters around town so that they can scare. Think of a Halloween theme where they're going around town and they're scaring spook juice out of all of the inhabitants of the town. They're giving you money. They're getting you all kinds of things. And if they get all the way through town to the bottom, they're going to score extra points in the end. But which ones move, which of your monsters move, is based on which dice colors you draft.
We call spook juice something else.
Yeah.
But
no, I don't call it.
You can scare the spook juice out of people.
That's right. This is another one of those games like Stone Spine Architects where you get a card at the beginning of the game. You have a table, basically, or you have tables in your party for your Dungeon Lord or for these Dark Lords. That they need to be in certain patterns. And it might be that, vertically they all have to add up to a certain number, or you might want rows that are all red, green, and blue, or whatever else. It's all based on that starting card. So placement of your dice on the table matter, and you have to place everything from left to right. So it's not like you can't get out of sequence and stick somebody way down here. So what you're drafting and everything else really matters. And then every one of those dice, when you place them, depending on the number and the color, they have different abilities on them, which are going to do small things across your board. There is a lot of little things that are going on with every dice placement, and that's what I really love. I really love how each of those dice affects so many different things. But there's a market board and there's ghosts and all these other things that go along with it. But end result, and it's a very pretty production.
Yeah.
But anyways, that is my 51. Monsters on Board.
It's a great pick.
I think I'm one of the only people that talk about this game anymore, but that's okay. I don't mind. I love it.
No, it's a good game. It's a really fun game. All right. Well, that is our numbers 60 through 51. We are done with the bottom half of our list.
I don't know if I should cheer or cry.
We are cheering. We are cheering because now we are in the top 50 games of all time starting next week. So be sure to come back for that. We will be here. Give us a like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you can let known that new list has been put up and all the other stuff that we put up here on the channel.
Yep.
Let us know in the comments what you think so far, and we'll be glad to interact with you, even if it's some disparaging comments. That's fine.
Now.
We got tough skin. We can handle that kind of stuff. It's no big deal at all. Thanks for being here. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
And happy gaming.
Yes!